So here's a quick video on some help with question 15 from homework 3. This is another one that's often these ones with tables seem to give people trouble. So I'm going to work through a couple of these. So the idea here is, first of all, you got to understand the table. The first row is giving me the input values. So in the first column, it's saying X. The next column, it says -2. So that means I'm plugging in -2 for each one of these things. And then I'm plugging in -1 to each one of these things and plug 0, 1, 2, etc. Okay? So then this second row is the result when you plug it into the original function, f of x. We don't know what f of x is. We just know that when you plug -2 in, you get 2. When you plug -1 in, you get 13. When you plug 0 in, you get 16. When you plug 1 in, you get 17. And when you plug 2 in, you get 19. So then we go to the next row and we're saying, okay, so knowing the results of f of x, when you plug those specific numbers in, what would happen if we plug them into a different function that's just like f of x, but with a -1 on the outside? So knowing our transformations, we know that a -1 on the outside just moves everything down 1. So that means since when I plug -1 into the original function, I got, well, let's look at the first one that we know. Notice when I plug -2 into the original function, I got 2. When I plug -2 into this new function, I got 1, which is 1 less than 2. So that's the same idea for all of these. It's always going to be 1 less than what I would have done in the original function. So that would be 12. That would be 15. And that would be 16. Okay? So now when we get to this next one, this is a little bit trickier because the -1 is on the inside. So that means that it's going to affect a horizontal move. So let's think about this for a second. You could think of this as this f function is being shifted to the right 1. So that means when I plug in numbers, I'm going to get out a different answer. I'm going to get an answer 1 to the right of what I would have gotten. Or another way to think about this is, notice if I just take -2 and I plug it in in the place of x right there, -2 plus -1, or -2 minus 1 would be -3. So even though I'm plugging a -2 in here, it's like plugging in a -3 up here. Okay? So, and the answer is -1. Now we don't know what f of -3 is, but we're assuming that it would be -1 because this is the one to the right. So that means that if I wanted to find out what -1 is, notice when I plug a -1 in here, f of -1 minus 1, that'd be like f of -2. So that means it should be just 2. So I'll put a 2 right there. And notice, again, it's just I'm going 1 to the left to get the answer because the function's been moved to the right. So that means this one should be 13, and that means this one should be 16. And notice that when I plug in 2, I get 17, which is the same as when I plug in 1 to the original. Okay? Then down here, it's just asking for the same function only with a negative up front, so that's pretty easy. That's just going to turn all my y values negative, so that'd be -13. And this one would be -16. And this one would be -17. Okay, and then finally, last but certainly not least, the -1's on the inside now. Now remember, -1 on the inside actually flips things across the y-axis. So that means when I'm plugging in 1 into this function, is really like plugging in -1 into the original function. So what's going to happen is the 13 and the 17 are going to flip. So that would be 17. That would be 13. And of course, when I plug in 0, that's on the y-axis, so there's no flipping there. When you reflect across, when you reflect a point that's on the line of reflection, nothing happens. So that means this one's just going to be still going to be 16. And that is, my friends, how you do question 15. Let me know if this helps, or send me questions if you didn't understand something I said. All right. Oh, we better submit and make sure it all came out right. Look at all those green checks. It's so exciting. All right.